All right. It is it's almost 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time on Foundry VTT. We're going to be working on Sword World 2.5. So over a year ago, I expressed a lot of interest in Sword World 2.5, and this time last year, I think I was at Disney Sea, Japan, or maybe it was my last day in Japan. I don't remember. But I was like, I had secured in my possession the 3 rule books, which are up on the shelf. Hold on, I'll grab them. Okay, so I got them. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, as we like to say in my Wednesday gaming group, I'm supporting the devs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I bought the fucking books. I'll buy all the fucking books. I love this product. I can't I can't read it yet. It's all in Japanese. It's very dense and very small. I think it's cute how small the rulebook is. There are not a lot of pictures, and the tables are quite tiny because it's a tiny book. Fortunately, because we own the books, I have zero guilt acquiring the translated PDFs on the internets. So that's what we got. And again, like, I plan to pick up all the books over time. Maybe next time I'm in Japan, I'll pick up the rest of the books, or I'll order them. There's a couple of sites you can order them from. In the meantime, though, we have translations. There is a translation project happening, an official translation project happening. That's going to be a backer kit campaign, and I think it starts next month. It took every ounce of willpower I had to not ask them, can I do an official actual play of Sword World to help promote your Kickstarter efforts in this fine game? Nah, I can't do it. I got too much stuff on my plate. There's no way, especially this time of year. Absolutely not going to happen. But for the past year, I've been like, I really want to play, but I can't. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the means to play. And when I say the means to play, Sword World on Foundry VTT, it does not have any official support. It has a very strong community of support. I believe they are called Sword World Cardia's Library. I can throw a invite friends to Sword World. Yeah. I could throw the link up into chat, I guess. Here we go. But this is the Discord. Hope I'm not. You're all my friends, sure. This is the Discord where they support the game, the unofficial translation of the game, and encourage people to play the game. And then the official translation for the game is through Mugen Games. So I'll throw their server link up also. And I do want to say that we're not partnered with or sponsored by any of these people. I just really enjoy the product, and that's that. All right. So cool. With all that sort of bookkeeping out of the way, the reason that it took me so long to dig into Sword World is because I'm usually on the Forge VTT for my hosting of Foundry, and that's not it's not really compatible with what you need for Sword World. Sword World has a lot of like compendiums. The compendiums are unofficial and they're fan made, and so you kind of have to like ham fist them in to a local install. Also, they don't like update to the newest Foundry very often, so you kind of have to find a version of Foundry that the compendium and the tools work on, and just stay in that version. And all of that means self-hosting. So same reason that I didn't really get into 4th edition D&D in the Foundry VTT space, even though I really wanted to, is I wasn't self-hosting. But now that I am self-hosting, last night, yesterday evening, after work, I came home. I hopped onto my virtual server, and I built a unique instance of Foundry. We installed Sword World on it, and now we're going to go ahead and, I guess, side by side, we're going to review how to play, but we're also going to see how does that work in the game itself. How do we build stuff inside Foundry, so on and so forth. All right, so let's see. The first thing I want to do is I want to give us a different dashboard. So I'm just going to go to create scene, and we'll call it dashboard. All right, and then let's see, assets, UI, Sword World. We'll just grab this banner. Okay. All right, go in here, config, grid. We'll do grid list for now. There we go. All right. Then we'll probably want a place to test things out. Just a map to test things out. So we could, yeah. Right. I'll go ahead and get Forgotten Adventures set up. All good. Close this tab and return to Foundry. All right. I did. It's not happy. Hold on, hold on. Okay, alright. Patreon plugged in. Good stuff. Alright, so we have access to all these pre-made maps that we could use to sort of practice with, that sort of thing. We'll go ahead and we'll download this guy, Shattered Sky Temple, just to have another map in there. Plot miniatures down on. Alright. Excellent. Okay, so that was step one. Now, I think the most important thing we could do next is... Oh, hold on. I gotta check one more thing. Alright, cool. I think the next thing I want to do is... I don't think we need to worry about mod support just yet, but obviously we should get some 3D dice set up. So we got a warning sign from automated animations. I'm sure it's well earned. Let's see, better roofs. Man, everybody giving me a little warning sign there. It's probably because we're on an older version of Foundry. We'll see. Alright, let's go to dice so nice. So I feel like we are going to be rolling a few dice today. Yeah, I don't want green dice. Let's go user config. Player names must be configured by the game master. Can be changed in user management screen. Got it. Right. Okay. So let's see. For this one, we'll do. Click on a die to customize it. Oh, that's kind of cool. What is this? Download new themes and 3D models. What? Oh, I think we might have all those. Okay. Let me see. Manage modules. Everything that says dice on it. Yeah. Okay. So then, I'm wondering if I'm gonna miss dice tray or not. I feel like I probably am gonna miss having dice tray down here. Even though the only dice you need are d6s, I feel like having the button down there would be kind of nice. All right, we'll turn that on while we're thinking about it. Dice tray. Let's see. Let's make our dice. Dice so nice. 3D dice. All right. We'll do the answer. Oh, 42. Oh, come on, guys. Golden anvil. Forbidden knowledge. Standard. I kind of want to make my own dice at some point. I think that'd be pretty fun. It's a lot easier to do when you self-host. Ooh, dot-based dice when we're only playing with d6s. Bold? That's a bold move. Let's see. I'm kind of into it. I kind of like the pips. I don't know. I don't know if I want to use the light up cyberpunk ones that are not pips. That's kind of bold, but could be fun. I wish the pips looked a little cooler, but that's okay. All right, let's see. Carved wood. Fantasy lights. Ooh, that's kind of nice. Material. Wood. Glass. That's looking pretty cool. Font. Does the font actually change the pips? It doesn't look like it. Pity. All right. All right, let's see. Label color. All right, dice color. I don't think that's gonna change anything. Oh, actually, that's pretty cool. All right, outline color. Nice. Edge color. All right, I'll take it. Rolling with pips. All right, save. All right, now we have dice. That's the most important step. Let's jump into relearning the rules. Okay. So I have this here primer that we need to read over, and guess I'll get my notes out. Yeah. All right, so I got my notes here. All right, we'll do this. Oh. All right, so we got a rules introduction, and we got a rules primer. The rules primer is 19 pages long, and the rules summary, I think, is 19 pages long. So they're pretty close in size. And then let me grab my actual notes. We'll do April 25 notes. All right. And we'll see if there's anything that really stands out as we read through this. Let's see. And I think I have this downloaded locally too, so we could read it as a PDF. Let me see. Rules primer or instructions. Nope. The instructions are for the VTT stuff. Okay. Then yeah, we'll go ahead and read this. I guess I'll download a copy of it just so we have it offline. Maybe. All right, save as PDF. Let's go. Okay. All right. That's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. All right, the basics of play. Welcome to Sword World 2.5 PDF is aimed to teach the basics of the game and help people get into it. What do you need? Dice. To play Sword World 2.5, you need 2 6-sided dice. These dice are commonly mentioned in notations as 1D or 2D, which means you need to roll 1 6-sided die or 2 6-sided dice and refer to the total. A character sheet. These are available online or can be copied from the core rulebook. A group of 4 to 5 people, including yourself. However, Sword World 2.5 can be played with more or less people, including some pre-made scenarios that can be played solo. Writing utensils. Most of the time you'll want to write on your sheets in pencil. This will allow you to easily correct mistakes and update any information you recorded. You will also need a few pieces of blank paper for quick sketching and notes. Alternately, online character sheets can be used. Alright, what is a role-playing game? I think we're good on that one. Why do I need rules? The basics. When the Game Master or GM calls for a roll due to the rules, or because the player characters or PC's actions are in doubt, the player will typically roll 2d and add the relevant stat modifier and class level. For example, should a PC attack a goblin with their sword, the rules dictate that the player must roll 2d plus warrior class level plus dexterity modifier. Outside of combat, players can act at will, interacting with NPCs and the world around them as they see fit. During combat, players act in an order called initiative, where one side acts and then the other. During combat, players typically get to do 3 things on their turn: movement, major actions, minor actions. Okay, that seems pretty relevant. We'll add that to our notes. Let's see. All right. Must be done before taking a major action or forfeited. Cast a spell. Or forfeited if they want to cast a spell. Ah. However, minor actions can be taken before or after a major action. Players can take an unlimited number of minor actions. That's fucking wild. Okay. When a player deals damage, they roll 2d and compare the result power entry on the power table that matches their weapon or spell, and add extra damage. And yes, you can deal infinity damage in this system. So that's kind of nuts. Let's see. I'll put will not have spoilers for tomorrow's playtest or DirkCon adventure. Alrighty. Notes, this document is not comprehensive and excludes many GM-facing rules such as running monsters. Please refer to Core Rulebook 1 for more detailed information, along with information on running monsters and adjudicating checks. Alright, here's your character sheet. Stats are really kind of wild. You have 3 core stats, skill, body, and mind, and then each of those has 2 substats, and then those get they have growth options, and then there's also like your total stats. So your skill plus your sub correction plus any growth equals your actual score, and only then do you determine your ability score modifier. Listen, if you survive 2nd edition D&D, you'll be fine. But it do be kind of crazy. I'm using when I'm not in Foundry VTT, I'm using a Google spreadsheet based character sheet, and it does a pretty good job of like this cell feeds into this equation and like calculates everything for you. So I'm hoping that the same thing is true inside Foundry VTT. We're gonna find that out. All right, history, profile, classes, etc. Second page of the character sheet is your monster knowledge, blah blah blah. Your accessories, evasion, defense. Each character has 10 slots to equip accessories onto. Very video gamey. Items, much like Pathfinder 2e, items are very well developed, and there are a lot of them. And they are important to your survival. HP, MP, Fortitude, Willpower, Money, Items, and Power Tables. Okay. Making a character and acquiring classes. To make a character, you follow a few simple steps. Get a character sheet, select a race, and available background from their charts. So this game, big fantasy racism. Big fantasy racism. And I'm not saying that in like a bad way. I'm just saying that like it's very old school Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like dwarves are good at this and elves are good at that, and humans are good at everything, and so on and so forth. So like when you build a character, you are encouraged by the rules to respect the sort of like cultural background and expectations of the character. Now obviously groups that know the system really well, GMs that want to kind of crack things open, they pretty much just let you do whatever you want. But the design is set up that like if you play a Tabbit, which is like a rabbit person, they can't be priest because the Tabbit god died. And so Tabbits lost their connection to the divine when their creator god died. So they can't ever be priest. But they're very good at intelligence-based spellcasters. In fact, all of their backgrounds revolve around that. So you can't be like, my Tabbit is a berserker from birth. You could be a berserker, but you still have like the cultural values, the societal upbringing, the genetic predisposition, the species predisposition to do magic. You're still a magic-based creature. And this was very much like the defining stuff of like old school D&D, right? Like dwarves couldn't be wizards because they had like a certain amount of like anti-magic, like built in kind of thing. So it just it kind of has that same vibe to it, even in this modern age of gaming, and I think it's kind of cool. I wanted to make Jebic Fluffybottom from Wild Beyond the Witchlight as a Tabbit, and I was kind of like, damn, like you got to be a nerd. Like nerd is like where you start, and then you can try to be something else. But yeah, their physical stats, their mental stats, and their backgrounds are all locked in to certain roles and cultural expectations. and then you can break away from that in gameplay, but you're never going to be as good as somebody who just sort of like blooms where they're planted. So a Tablet Wizard is always going to be more powerful. Well, Sorcerer, Conjurer is going to be more powerful than a Tablet, Brawler, essentially. All right, let's see. So you select your background, you roll for stats in the system. Now, the rule book is like, having low stats sucks. So you can roll for stats 3 times and then take the best. But if all 3 of your stats suck, you should ask your game master if you could keep rolling until you get stats that don't suck. But like, don't do it forever. You know what I mean? I wish they included like a optimal like range of stats, like a math equation where you're like, if you have this, then those are good stats. You know what I mean? So you couldn't just argue like it's still not good, and then you just keep re-rolling and re-rolling and re-rolling. But again, that's very old school D&D rolling for stats. You got to keep the stats in order that you roll them. So you roll out these sets of stats, and you might have like 2 incredible stats, but they're in something you don't need. So you don't want to be you don't need to be a muscle wizard. But like, maybe you get a bunch of bad stats, but like you have max intelligence and then max spirit for like mana points and stuff like that. So you're gonna want to take that, even though your other stats are probably garbage. And then of course you're just gonna have somebody show up and they're gonna get max stats. They're gonna be better than everybody else. That's the danger of playing with this and with random stats. But it gets crazier, because in addition to random stats at character generation, you also have random stat increase on level up. So if your least favorite part of Fire Emblem is random stat increases on characters, if you don't like Dragonbane, this has a lot of Dragonbane and Sword World have a lot of overlap. You might be like, this is some bullshit. Yeah, I haven't seen any like house rules yet or fan rules that like normalize stat increases or normalize stat generation. So it is very much like hope for the best kind of thing. All right. Experience points. Kind of like Pathfinder 2e, use experience points to purchase your level up. And then the level ups become more and more expensive as you get higher in level. This is an entirely XP based game system, which again, I'm not huge into XP normally. I like to say that, like, I'm here to play, not do my taxes, but the system is very much built around the acquisition of XP and the spending of XP to level up, and everyone can be leveling up differently. Everyone can be at different levels, and your character, you could level any classes that you have access to at whatever pace you want. And so you could focus entirely on leveling a single class. You could focus on leveling a single class and 1 support class, or you could go nuts and just be a low-level version of like lots of classes, or you could never take like a serious major class, like an actual adventuring role, and you could just take all the support classes. It's not recommended, but like you could do that. So there's a lot of like freedom in the mixing and matching of your character builds and how you spend those experience points. So once you determine your background and stats, you check how many experience points your character has left. So this is interesting. You could have higher base stats based on your background, but then you'll have less XP to spend on your starting classes. So you could have lower base stats, but more class experience overall to start the game. Or you could have better stats, but then worse or less XP to spend on starting stuff. This is kind of interesting. Let's see. Combat feat. Adventurers earn combat feat at every odd level, 1, 3, 5, so on. Please refer to Core Rulebook 1 for a list of available feats and their details. Now, what I couldn't determine is, do you get a feat for every odd level of every major class? I think that's what it is. So could you take a bunch of major classes and do it that way, or is there a way that they're combining your character classes together to determine total character level, like they do in Pathfinder 1, and I guess D&D 3, 3.5, and 5, and 5.5? Yeah. You have a total character level, and then that's an additional your class level. So I don't know if your character level, if there's a thing is character level, or is it you get combat feats for each level of a major class. So we'll have to look into that. I'll put let's see, questions. All right, so a good question here would be, when determining combat feats, what is the level they are referring to? Question mark. Major class. Combined character level. Do minor class levels even count? Alright. Let's see. Purchasing equipment. Every character, doesn't matter what job, class, background, race you take, you have 1,200 gamels. At creation, you may spend this however you wish. It is recommended you buy appropriate weapon and armor for your class. All classes use B rank equipment. If you wish to use high rank equipment, you must acquire a corresponding feat. So you can't even you're not even qualified to use good equipment without a special feat. Calculate values. Finally calculate your standard values for HP, MP, Fortitude, Willpower, check packages, Monster Knowledge, Initiative, Movement, Weapons, Armor, Magic Power if applicable. The sheet itself has how to calculate these values along with the previous pages. Alright, so then we get into classes and skill checks. In Sword World 2.5, the characters have various abilities. Some are skilled in handling weapons and armor, while others are skilled in magic. Now, I will say this. The class roles are even more important in Sword World than they are in D&D 4.0. Or 4th edition D&D. Because some skills literally rely upon you being a class and then how high in level you are in the class. So there's stuff that they're just like, only a ranger can do this. Only a sage can do this. Only a brawler can do this. And so if as an adventuring party you don't have a good spread of class coverage, you will be locked out of certain actions and activities. All right. All various classes, all classes use B rank equipment to use higher, blah, blah, blah. Classifications. Classes are split into the following categories: warrior type, wizard type, other type. In addition, these are further divided into major and minor, which determines how much experience they take to level up. Warrior type classes wade into battle using weapons. Wizard type classes wield powerful magic, while other type classes offer skills and abilities which complement all kinds of characters on their adventures. Class levels. I would have called them expert type classes, but I guess other just keeps it wide open, so that's fine. A class grants the necessary skills and abilities for a character to embody this role. When a character has reached the first level in a class, it means they've acquired the basic skills of that class. After, a character's class level may increase with experience. Adventurer level. The highest class level a character possesses is recorded as their adventurer level. This level is used to calculate HP and other character stats. So this might be combined character level. Let's see. So that means a person that's multi-classed would actually be if you multi-class too hard, assuming this is how it works, you would be locking yourself out of combat feats? I don't know. Alright, what each class can do. Warrior types. Fighter. Major. A fighter who stands on the front lines fighting enemies with weapons. They can wield almost every melee and thrown weapon with no particular limitations on armor or shields. Grappler. Major. This warrior fights with their body, punching and kicking foes as well as other techniques. Although limited to wrestling weapons and severely limited in armor choice, grapplers automatically acquire the combat feat Chain Attack, which gives them the advantage of multiple attacks. The throw wrestling weapon can be used to slam enemies into the ground, further granting the upper hand in battle. Sounds pretty good. Battle Dancer. Battle Dancers have the ability to wield any melee weapon, including grappler-specific weapons. However, they can only wear the same armor as the grappler class. Battle Dancers gain 1 combat feat through the bonus active combat feat class feature. The Battle Dancer class encourages players to consider various combinations of combat feats and choose the most effective tactics based on the situation. I mean, that sounds pretty fucking good. Fencer. This is a minor warrior class. Fencers fight with light weapons and armor. Although inferior to fighters and grapplers when comparing raw offense and defense, fencers come with varied attacks and the potential to unleash incredible one-hit damage. However, fencers benefit from an increased chance of generating critical damage with any weapon they wield. Fencers may only use weapons and armor that require half their strength score rounded up or less and reduce the critical value of any weapon they strike with by -1. Huh. So they can crit more often, but they crit for less damage. Marksman, minor. All ranged attacks may be performed by this class, and shooting attacks are exclusive to marksmen. Unlike other warrior... Incredible. Unlike other warrior type classes, they cannot evade attacks. Holy shit. If you, again, Dragonbane, there's an actual stat for avoiding it. There's a couple of ways to avoid attacks, and if you don't have training in that, you just always are getting hit. You're just always getting hit, it feels like. And if you get hit in Dragonbane, you fucking die. Let's see. All ranged attacks may be performed by this class. Unlike warrior types that can evade attacks, making it dangerous to get caught up in close combat. Alright, wizard type classes. Wizard type classes are classes that use magic. The term caster is used to describe all characters that have these classes. So wizard types are also caster types. Artificer, major. This caster learns Magitech, straight out of Final Fantasy VI. They use Magispheres, straight out of Final Fantasy VI. Maybe Final Fantasy VII at this point, to create useful tools and effects. Artificers are the only class able to use guns, which can deliver damage, healing, and more. Healing bullets. Beautiful. Using bullet-type spells and guns requires the use of the Marksman class. If you wish to deal consistent damage as an Artificer, you should also be leveling Marksman. If you wish to deal consistent damage, you should level Marksman more than Artificer. Okay. Conjurer. This caster learns Spiritualism magic. Spiritualism spells offer a variety of supportive effects, and the ability to manipulate constructs such as dolls for reconnaissance and other useful tasks. Druid, major. Druids are beings who live in nature and have the ability to interact with the spirits of animals and plants that inhabit the earth. They use nature magic, which is based on the power that resides in nature. The principle and essence of nature magic is to borrow the power of these spirits. When a druid uses nature magic, semi-invisible animals and plants appear to produce the effects of druid spells. Fairy Tamer, major. The Fairy Tamer is a class that uses fairy magic. Fairies are beings born from the interference of mana with nature, and they exist everywhere in Raxia. Fairy magic is the art of making a contract with these fairies and having them use their powers in exchange for the caster's mana. Priest. The caster learns divine magic. Through faith, priests heal and mitigate damage, as well as oppose barbarous and undead creatures. When you first become a priest, you will choose a single deity whom you worship, and in turn, they will grant you specialized thematic spells. Sorcerer Major. This caster learns True Speech Magic. True Speech Magic is a magic system that can be called traditional, as their spells offer many ways to deal direct damage, and at the same time, also convenient spells such as lighting a magical light. So this is the wizard sorcerer that you're expecting from Dungeons and Dragons, essentially. Warlock Major. The Warlock, also known as the Summoner or Demon Tamer, is a magician who manipulates the power of demons. The summoning arts, which utilize the power of demons, are one of the most unique magic systems in the world of Raxia. There are three main types of summoning arts: those that transform and strengthen the body or armament, those that attack using power that originates in the demon world, and those that summon or use demons. So right away, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wizard classes, major wizard classes. We have 3 major warrior classes. Now, I mean, okay. Then we've got, and none of the wizard type classes are minor. That's worth pointing out. So then we have the other type classes, which are like experts, basically. These classes allow for a wide range of skills and abilities that complement characters on their adventures. The Alchemist, minor. Some people have the strange ability to process and synthesize items out of basic materials, as well as create evocations from magically infused cards. These people are called alchemists. Their material cards are made of prima material, the essential element of various substances. Prima is kind of like their residuum in this setting. It's just like raw magic. The essential element of various substances. Upon taking a level in the alchemist class, characters learn to speak and read the Magitech language. Well, hot damn. Bard, minor. Bards play musical instruments, sing songs, and produce various supportive or hindering effects on nearby listeners. For every level Bard acquired, a character learns to speak, but not read. They won't get time for that. Any one new language. Choose from the list of languages. Enhancer, minor. Enhancers are a very physical class who use their body and mana to create advantages in battle. This is not a class that makes use of weapons, but uses non-magical techniques with associated special effects. The Enhancer class cannot be used to make skill checks. Also, since it is not a wizard type class, it doesn't increase MP. Okay. Geomancer. The Geomancer can deploy a special item called Geograph to the aspects... to use the aspects to target a random person from the entire battlefield. So it's just straight out of Final Fantasy Tactics, or vice versa, I guess. Ranger. Like the Scout, Rangers are useful for reconnaissance and investigation, but the class's capabilities tend to be limited to natural environments. Rangers are uniquely adept at handling and administering medicinal herbs and potions. With such efficiency, Rangers contribute greatly to the safety of themselves and their party. When using herbs, Ranger add their level plus Dex modifier to the final result. When using potions, they add Ranger level plus Intelligence modifier to the final results. Rider, a class that can control mounts of various types. Those PCs with Rider class levels are colloquially known as jockeys. Okay. Being a jockey has several benefits that allow mounts to be used in combat, along with learning special stunts that can increase your mount's capabilities. Sage, minor. A sage's strength lies in all matters where knowledge is concerned. Sages uniquely provide the monster knowledge skill, which identifies the characteristics of monsters as well as how to exploit their weaknesses. Also, every time a sage class is advanced, a new language can be learned. Sages may learn to either speak or read from any language on the list of languages. Scouts excel at reconnaissance and investigation. They have a variety of skills that benefit hiding, concealment, searching, and can sense danger and traps. Scouts also uniquely possess the initiative skill, which is essential for your party to be the first to act in combat. However, some skills are highly penalized while wearing metal armor. Tactician, Minor. Tacticians are able to use the stratagems to inspire their allies and give them advantageous effects. Stratagems, unlike magic, do not require the expenditure of MP. They require vocalization, and the range of effect is centered on the user and varies according to adventure rank of the tactician. Alright. For skill checks, 2 dice are required for skill checks. The GM must then provide a numerical value called the target number, the TN, to indicate, almost like a DC, to indicate the difficulty of the act, taking into account various factors such as the character's capabilities and the situation at hand. Standard value. The standard value is a number that represents how good a character is at a given skill. Generally, it is calculated class level plus ability modifier, but some skill checks are universal for adventurers and use the adventurer level instead of class level. Target number. The target number indicates the difficulty of the skill check. The higher the number, the more difficult it is to succeed. Target numbers are determined by the GM. Alright, success value. Once the standard value and target number are determined, the player rolls 2d and adds the result of the relevant standard value. Adds the result to the relevant standard value. This final total is the success value of the skill check. It indicates how well the character actually did. The higher, the better. Alright. Skill check result. If the success value is equal to or greater than the target number, skill check is successful. If the success value does not equal target number, fail. If the skill check is successful, the character acts as desired. If the check fails, a favorable outcome will not be achieved. You'll either have to start over or try again. In some cases, you'll end up in an irreversible situation. Straight rolls. Even if you do not have an appropriate class, you can still perform a skill check. However, not only is your class level treated as 0, but the corresponding ability modifier cannot be added. So even if you're fucking super smart, if you don't know how to be a sage, I don't think you can add that intelligence to try to identify monsters, stuff like that. Alright. This is referred to as a straight roll, just rolling 2d. Automatic success and automatic failure. Automatic success, when rolling for a skill check, if both the rolls are 6s, boxcars, the check is considered a success regardless of the standard value, target number, or any bonuses or penalty modifiers as described. Alright, I want to look this up. What are the odds of rolling boxcars? 1 in 36. So if you're used to a D20 system where you have a 5% chance of rolling a nat 20, your chance of rolling is actually a 2.78. But that also means that your chances of rolling a critical failure are also 2.78, so that's nice. Automatic failure. If the dice roll results in double ones, the check is automatic failure, unless you're a human. More on that later, I guess. Regardless of the standard value, target number. In this case, the success value is treated as 0, which means the user becomes unlucky or forgets something important. Bonuses and penalties. Sometimes skill checks will be modified due to an advantage or disadvantage depending on various effects such as surrounding conditions, magic items, combat, feats, etc. These are applied after determining the success value by rolling the dice. Interesting. Contested checks. Some skill checks are performed by comparing the result of values. This is used when multiple characters perform an action check to determine the winner, active versus passive. Contested checks are sometimes used to determine the winner between those actively attempting to commit an act and those attempting to prevent or evade it. A straightforward example is a confrontation between those attempting to attack and those attempting to evade. First, the active skill side rolls the skill check. The active side rolls the skill check. As long as it is not automatic failure, the passive side will need to perform a skill check. If the passive side provides success value is a tie or greater, the passive side wins. Alright. If this... Okay, so passive wins on a tie in contested checks. If the passive side's success value is a tie or greater. Okay, this is the case even in automatic successes. In most cases, the skill check for the active and passive sides will be different. Resistance checks. In skill checks, there are two types of resistance checks, fortitude and willpower. They are used to reduce or eliminate special effects by attacks such as poison or magic. The standard value for these checks is determined by adding the adventure level and the corresponding ability modifier. Okay, and we've learned adventure level is the level of your highest class. Let's see, adventure level, the highest class level. So it doesn't say major class level, so I guess you could really stack your adventure level and focus on a minor class to get a higher adventure level faster? Maybe. Action checks. Skill checks excluding death, fortitude, and willpower checks are referred to as action checks. This large grouping is used to indicate the effects of magic and so on. For example, a statement such as action check with a -1 penalty is used. If a character is subjected to such an effect, it is assumed to apply all skill checks except the 3 above. Death check. If a character's HP value falls to 0 or below during a battle, the character may die. When a character falls to 0 or below, a death check must be immediately performed. The standard value of a death check is adventure level plus vitality modifier. The target number is 0, but the character's current HP is used as a penalty modifier. For example, if a character's hit points would be reduced to -5, then the target number is 5. If the roll is a failure, then the character dies. If the check is successful, the character is unconscious but alive. If there's an automatic success, the character's HP becomes 1 and they recover from unconsciousness. If the character remains unconscious, another death check will be required every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes? Okay, I don't know how long a combat round is, but 10 minutes seems nice. Until the character has 6 successes. 6 successes! Okay. Alright, good to know. Let's see. Unconscious. Simply restoring a character's HP to more than 0 will not awaken them. Okay. However, certain spells, skills, and items such as Awaken, Awaken Potion, and First Aid checks can bring a character back to consciousness. That's interesting. So you really don't want to go to 0 HP. Like, you do not want to go to 0 HP in this system. Combat is a very important element in Sword World 2.5. There are many situations where PCs have to fight and fend off challenges that come their way. During combat, you will perform various action checks such as accuracy, evasion, and spellcasting checks. This section describes the procedures and processes that characters will follow when they enter combat. 3 areas. The battlefield is divided into 3 areas. No other positioning exists. Okay, I have a pretty cool chart thingy for this. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Nope. Okay. So we're gonna go here and config. Hold on. Where did I put this? Here maybe? There it is. Okay. Alright, Sword World Simple Combat. Alright. No, that's not it. That's it. Alright, so Sword World Simple Combat. You got backline, frontline, etc. Let's see. Size. Alright. I want to do Yeah, I think that works. I think that works for size. I'd like it to lay out a little bit better on the map, though. Let's see. Image size. We do 1900. Oh, we got to raise the resolution to 100. Yeah. Right, and then we'll do image size 1900. Right. Let's drag to there. Seems good. All right, and then drag this over like that. Ooh. All right, let's do that and there. Okay. Yeah, that works. That'd be kind of cool if it went all the way to the back there, but let's see. Skew? No. Distort? Okay. So let's see. Image, let's save it out. Oh, wait. Image, crop, nope. Image, canvas size. All right, let's do 1,000. Proceed. All right, there we go. Okay, so this will be Sword World, Simple Combat. What is it? 18 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 18 by 10. With 100 px. Okay. So we'll go back in here. Go to scene. Create scene. Simple combat arena. Or maybe we'll do arena simple? That could work. Alright. Go here. Assets. Scenes. We need Sword World directory. Okay. Then in here, we'll do arenas. Go grab simple arena. All right, cool. So that's what that looks like. All right. So you got your front line, enemy rear guard, allied rear guard. Check. There we go. All right, combat's a very important element, blah, blah, 3 areas. Divided into 3 areas, no other positioning exists. This is not necessarily true. In simple combat, yes, but this game does support grid-based combat, and then it does support an even more simple combat called, like, narrative combat. So there's 3 different types of combat. But this is the one that they teach initially. It's the one they teach initially. This is the classic, like, Final Fantasy, you know, side by side, hitting each other, taking turns hitting each other. The idea is that each rear guard is positioned across from the other. on opposite sides of the front line. In subsequent descriptions, the two rearguards may also be referred to collectively as rearguard areas. Skirmishes and skirmish areas. When both friendly and enemy characters are present in an area simultaneously, it's called a skirmish, or more specifically, a skirmish area. That is, skirmish is added to the area name, as in frontline skirmish area. The skirmish area is a dangerous place where those within may attack each other with melee and other weapons. Combat will be resolved according to combat procedure chart. Alright. Combat procedure chart is confirmation of factions, combat preparation, monster knowledge checks, initiative check, initial placement, winning initiative acts, movement, major action, minor action, losing initiative acts, movement, major action, minor action, confirm combat state, and do it over again. Combat starts when combat is assured to take place. The following process is performed. Confirmation of factions. Typically, battles take place between two factions, the PCs and their opponents. For all characters, PCs, NPCs, and monsters on the battlefield, the GM will identify which faction they belong to. Combat preparation. Once the battle is confirmed, you may perform certain combat feats and minor actions allowed during this time. Combat feats and spells are typically denoted with a triangle symbol. Okay. Monster knowledge checks. A monster knowledge check, sage level plus intelligence modifiers performed. If successful, the GM shares the monster's stats with the players. Initiative check. An initiative check, scout tactician plus agility modifier, is performed. Initiative is exceptional in that double sixes do not become an automatic success. Instead, it is simply treated as a 12. Initial placement. The sides that won initiative get to determine where their characters are placed, either rear guard or front line. Even if the first faction does not place any characters on the front line, the second side must have at least one character on the front line. If the winning side places characters on the front line, the losing side must place at least half as many in the front line in response. Okay. Winning initiative acts. Once combat preparation is over, the first round begins. The faction that is acting first chooses any character to begin their turn, handles their actions sequentially, then resolves them. Players may not take an action during another player's turn. One player's turn must be completed for another to act. Round time management. Combat is played using a unit of time called a round, which lasts 10 seconds, not 6. And during this round, each participant gets a turn to act. For durations of special effects, 1 round, 10 seconds, is considered to have elapsed each time the character who generated it begins a new turn. So turns are per character, rounds is everybody. When tracking passage of time as a whole, a round is only incremented after all characters have taken turns. Losing initiative acts. After all characters who won the initiative have taken their turn, any remaining characters belonging to the faction which lost. Jesus Christ. So winning initiative is maybe the most important thing in the entire world, because not only do you set the scene for like the fight, but then your whole fucking squad gets to go. Your entire fucking squad gets to go before the other team gets to go. That's nuts. Okay. Combat is played. Okay. After all character who won the initiative have taken their turn, any remaining characters belonging to the faction which lost now take their turn. Heesh. Confirm. Good God. Confirm combat state. After all characters that lost the initiative have acted, if there are still active characters in both factions, dark, and either side is willing to continue the battle, the combat will proceed to the next round. The game procedure returns to 2. Winning initiative acts and new turns may begin. Turns may be taken in any order regardless of previous actions. Wow. I have a question. I'm going to add it to my notes. Hold on. Sword World notes. It's over here. Is there like shifting initiative? Shifting initiative would be kind of cool. Initiative set for entire battle? Question mark. I guess if you had shifting, it'd be fucking crazy because, so assuming that you won initiative and the monsters lost, but you didn't kill all the monsters, they would go and then immediately get to go again, back to back. So I don't know. I'm assuming initiative set for the entire battle. Alright. After all characters that lost initiative, blah blah blah. Post-combat process. If either faction is unable to continue the combat due to annihilation, surrender, and so forth, the fight is over. The end of combat is also indicated when one faction escapes and the other gives up on the pursuit. When combat ends, all magic and effects expire, except for those which last for an extended period of time, hour, day, permanent, etc. On a character's turn. This section explains what a character can do during their turn. Basics of a turn. A character's turn consists of three elements: movement, major action, and any minor actions. Each character takes a turn. Movement and then major action. These actions are resolved in the following order. Characters move between areas as needed, followed by a single major action. Minor actions are very simple actions that can be performed any number of times in a turn, unless otherwise noted, and can be performed at any time, before or after a movement, also before or after a major action. Types of movement. The character on the turn chooses one of three types of movement listed below. Depending on which one is chosen, the distance that can be moved and the actions that may be performed during that turn may vary. Full move. Run with all your might. You may move from allied rearguard area to the enemy rearguard area. It's pretty far. And vice versa in a single turn. However, this cannot be done if there are enemy characters in the frontline area. Okay. And vice versa in some cases in a single turn. However, this cannot be done if there are enemy characters in the frontline area. Only minor actions can be taken and major actions cannot be taken. The player has a -4 penalty to evasion checks at the beginning of the next turn from all that running around. Normal move. Move quickly and alertly so you can respond to an attack at any time. You may move to an adjacent area. If you choose normal move, there are very few restrictions to major and minor actions. However, one of the major limitations is the inability to use magic, regardless of whether they are major or minor actions. Limited move. Do not change the area you occupy. Stay where you are. All major and minor actions are possible. Okay. Notes on movement. Character cannot move if an enemy is also in the same area they are in at the time. They may also be prevented from moving due to magic or other reasons. Wow. Okay. Fuck. Major actions. After a character has finished moving, including if they chose not to move, they may perform a major action. These are actions that involve skill checks, such as attacking with weapons, including bare hands, claws, and fangs, and the casting of magic. Even without a skill check, any actions that the GM determines will spend most of a round are considered major actions. In general, a character may take only one major action per round. Typical major actions include weapon attacks, use of items, casting a spell, preparing to leave a skirmish area. Preparing to leave a skirmish area. Okay. Minor actions. Minor actions require very little time to perform and do not usually involve skill checks. The GM determines what the action is very simple, quick, and would always be successful. It may be treated as a minor action, even if it is not specific to the rules. Unless otherwise specified, minor actions can be taken before or after a movement and before or after major action. However, they cannot interrupt nor be taken during the skill check resolution of a major action. A character may take an unlimited number of minor actions during their turn. They've said it about 40 times, so hopefully we remember. Typical minor actions include equipping or receiving a weapon, Changing the stance of equipment, putting a weapon into a sheath, dropping a weapon, standing up. Okay. Dismissing a spell or effect, good to know. Casting a forward arrow spell. Special magic castable as a minor action. However, you can't cast any magic if you did any movement at all, even a minor action. Alright. Range and distance. Melee attacks and ranged touch spells and effects can only target characters in the same area as yourself. Attack spells and effects with range. Ranged attacks, projectiles, and spells have a data set named range. Any ranged weapon attacks or spells with a range of 1 or higher may have target characters in adjacent areas. Adjacent areas. Okay. Furthermore, range 2 may target characters in the enemy rearguard area from the allied rearguard area. However, if an enemy character is in the front line, it cannot be a target because it is not visible. Ranged attacks, projectiles, and spells have a data set named range. Any ranged weapon attacks or spells with a range of 1 or higher may target characters in adjacent areas. Period. Further, range 2 may target characters in the enemy rearguard area from the allied rearguard area. However, if an enemy character is in the front line, it may not be a target because it is not visible. I'm assuming they mean the back line, is being blocked. I'm assuming. We will confirm though. Do enemies in front line block line of sight for ranged attacks to the enemy backline from the allied backline? I'm very sure that's the case. Danger of stray shots. Ranged attacks and area shot spells and effects will cause stray shots when targeting a character in a skirmish area from outside that skirmish area. The target is instead randomly chosen. There are feats that mitigate this. From all participants within the skirmish area. A stray shot occurs only when targeting into a skirmish area from the outside, not when choosing a target while you are also within the same skirmish area as the target. Some monsters and characters have the ability to target any character without stray shots occurring. Note that spells and effects with area target does not cause stray shots. Attack after movement. A character can make a melee attack after moving with normal move. If there is no enemy character in your area at the beginning of your turn, you can move forward one area and make a melee attack against an enemy character there. Ranged attacks. Attacks with range are collectively called ranged attacks. Range defines the target area that can be attacked. When a character outside a skirmish area makes a ranged attack on a character inside a skirmish area, it will, in principle, cause a stray shot. Accuracy and evasion. When a weapon attack is declared, the attacker makes an accuracy check. See, I want to know, can you make a ranged attack after movement, comma, or only melee? Accuracy and evasion. When a weapon attack is declared, the attacker makes an accuracy check and the defender makes an evasion check. And the achieved values are compared to determine if the defender was hit or not. If the attacker accuracy check achieves a higher value, the attack is successful. If there's a tie or the defender achieves a higher, the attack misses. So again, passive / defenders are always going to win on a tie. Accuracy check standard value. The standard value of the attack or accuracy check is the warrior type class level plus dexterity modifier used for the attack. And then for evasion, it is warrior type classes excluding marksman plus agility modifier. Damage. This is where it starts to get kind of crazy. The attack hits if the accuracy check exceeds the opponent's evasion check. Damage is then determined immediately. Damage is a general term for any effect or amount by which HP is reduced. To inflict damage means to reduce someone's HP, and to receive damage means to suffer such an effect. The notation X points of damage means that X points of hit points are subtracted. Determining the damage type. When calculating damage, whether it's physical or magical, physical damage is reduced by target's defense. Magical damage bypasses your defense. Significant. Determine calculated damage. Use the power table to calculate damage. Every weapon and spell uses power, a shorthand measure of the intensity of damage it inflicts. The basic use of the power table is to roll 2d and compare the 2d result with the corresponding column. For example, if we use a power 13 power table and the result we get is 5, we get a 3 as the damage table. All right. Is there a Foundry VTT macro or automation for damage tables? Question mark. All right. Add extra damage. Once the result of the power table is determined, add extra damage to it. Extra damage is damage that is added by the class level and ability modifiers associated with that weapon. For weapon attacks, as a rule, extra damage is the class level of the warrior type class used for the accuracy check, plus strength modifier. Okay. Apply effects that increase damage. Once calculated damage is determined, the next step is to apply all the effects of magic and items that increase damage. This is called total damage. Be aware that some effects only apply to physical or magical damage. Apply effects that reduce damage. Apply effects that reduce damage, such as defense against physical attacks. If these effects reduce the damage to a negative, it's treated as 0 instead. After this, reduce the target's HP or MP by the final number. If this reduces HP to 0 below, the character becomes unconscious and they got a real bad time. Criticals. When using the power table, there's a possible increase in damage called a critical. Critical value. Every weapon has its own critical value, which is listed in the weapon's description. Handling criticals. Using the power table, a critical will occur if the 2D weapon roll is equal to or greater than the critical value of the weapon. If a critical occurs, the power table is used again and added to the damage. If the second roll is also equal to or higher than the critical value, the critical continues and the damage is added one after another, continuing until the 2d12 is not a critical. Extra damage is added to the final result from the power table, and potential criticals to arrive at calculated damage. No matter how many times a critical occurs, extra damage is added only once. Double ones on a critical. In the event that the 2D used when rolling the power table for criticals results in double ones, the calculated damage does not become 0. Simply proceed with the sum of the previous power table like before. Okay. Critical value modification. Certain abilities and classes modify the critical value of a weapon. For example, attacks with the Fencer class reduce a weapon's critical threshold by 1. However, the final critical value will never be 7 or less. If it would be reduced by less than 8, it will be changed to an 8. The final critical value may be 13 or higher. In this case, a critical will never occur. Oh. Alright, major and minor action supplements and notes. Major action. Use items. Sometimes are explicitly marked for use of the major action. Prepare to withdraw. A character with... Oh, this is some items. It's written as times. Some items are explicitly marked for use with major action. Okay. Prepare to withdraw. A character within a skirmish must perform a prepare to withdraw as a major action in order to leave the skirmish area. Then during the character's next turn, they may withdraw from the skirmish, moving backwards only. If the front line is a skirmish area, the player can move to their own rearguard area by normal move. If the enemy rearguard is a skirmish area, the player can move to the front line with a normal move, or to their own rearguard area with a full move. After preparing to leave the skirmish area, that character suffers -4 to evasion checks until the start of their next turn. However, if the number of friendly characters in the skirmish area exceeds twice the number of enemies in the skirmish area, that character can withdraw immediately using their movement without having to first prepare to leave the area. Okay. A character becomes unconscious when their HP reaches 0 or falls prone. To regain consciousness... Oh, wait. Minor action. There we go. Minor action standing up. The formatting was way off. A character becomes unconscious when their HP reaches 0 and falls prone. To regain consciousness, the character can use a Awaken spell, but they will wake up still prone. While in the prone state, you have a -2 penalty to all action checks, including accuracy and evasion, and you cannot move. To get up, the player can use a minor action before their movement. However, during the turn in which they get up, they still have a -2 penalty to their action checks. Wow. This penalty is removed at the end of the turn. If for some reason you fall during your turn, you cannot get up during that turn. You may only stand up once per turn, which is a limitation on that as a minor action. Got it. Magic and technique rules. Let's describe the basic rules of magic. First, we define the following terms. Casting a spell. You attempt to activate a spell. This is called casting a spell. Caster is someone who casts spells. Target, this is what the spell intends to affect. Match between class level and spell level. Each spell has a level. As a rule, the corresponding class level is the maximum spell level that can be cast. For example, a character with 3 levels of sorcerer class can cast spells of levels 1 to 3 from the true speech magic. If you have mastered multiple wizard type classes, the level of spells that can be cast from a magic system is determined independently for each class level acquired. Conditions of spellcasting. Casting spells imposes limitations. Limited move. Generally, to cast a spell, the character is restricted to, at most, a limited move. A magical medium. Magical implements, holy symbols, and magispheres. Each magic system requires a medium for casting a spell, and the caster must have these ready to perform magic. Vocalization. To cast spells, vocalization is required. Spells cannot be cast if you are unable to speak. I'm glad that that's just straight up spelled out in the rules. MP consumption. The act of casting a spell consumes MP from the character's current MP total. As specified for each spell, if MP is consumed, its current value is reduced by that amount. A character's MP can be reduced to 0 but not lower. It is not possible to cast a spell if MP cost exceeds the caster's current MP value. Mako stones. A Mako stone is an item that can be used to replace all or part of a spell's MP cost. The number of MP to be provided by the stone is specified when the stone is cast and reduces the caster's own MP consumption. The MP stored in the Mako stone is reduced by that amount. Should it reach 0, the Mako stone shatters. It is not possible to drain more MP from a Mako stone than it currently stores. Only one Mako stone can be used by a character to supply MP for spellcasting or other reasons. However, they cannot be used to mitigate damage to MP. Characters who use Mako stones without taking additional actions can use Mako stones without taking additional actions as long as they have them in their possession. See minor action swapping equipment. Major power and spellcasting check. Oh, magic power. Magic power. All characters that have mastered a wizard type class should pre-calculate their magic power. Magic power is determined using the following formula. Magic power equals wizard type class level plus intelligence modifier. If a character has mastered multiple wizard type classes, magic power should be calculated separately for each class. Rough. Magic power is the standard value. I mean, that's how it should be. 5th edition D&D. That's how it should be. Magic power is the standard value for spellcasting checks. It also provides extra damage for most spells that deal damage. Okay. Spellcasting check. As a rule, spellcasting check is performed when a character casts a spell. The standard value of this check is magic power. If an automatic failure occurs with spellcasting check, this spell has no effect. In this case, the cost to use a spell, such as MP, still stands. The only time the success value of a spell becomes important is when there is resistance to the spell. In many cases, the spellcasting check is made just to make sure that there was no automatic failure. Wow. Okay. Spell range and area. Each spell has a range and an area. These define how far a spell reaches and what area it will affect. These two elements are closely related and are often listed together in range area XX/YY. Spell range. Range caster. These spells are centered on the caster, do not affect an area. Range touch. The caster should be able to directly touch the starting point, object, or character to cast a spell. In combat, this means the caster can only target objects in the same area. Spells in this range do not define the area. Range X, parenthesis YY. The X is the number between 1 and 2, and YY is the number indicating the distance. For example, range 1, 10 meter. When fighting, only the X part matters. A 1 means the spell will reach adjacent area. A 2 means it could reach both the adjacent area and the area next to that. In non-combat situations, the YY number determines if the spell will reach the target. It says that, but that also applies to the grid-based combat rules that they're not covering. In the previous example, range 1, 10 meter means that the spell will reach the adjacent target when in combat and 10 meters when not in combat. The place, object, and character of the spell must be specific, and it must be visible. Spell's area. The spell does not have an area if the range is caster or touch. Area shot. This spell is directed in a straight line from the caster and hits the target. If there is obstacles in the way, it will not reach the target. If the spell is aimed from outside a skirmish into one, a stray shot will occur. Area target. The spell affects a target directly. The presence of an obstacle does not matter as long as they do not interfere with line of sight, and there is no stray shot if used in a skirmish area. Area line. This acts in a straight line, affecting all those in its path. There is a separate section in this subject entitled Area Line in the next section. Alright. Rules for the targets, for spells targets. 1. Character, object, point. Caster is the target. This type of magic may cast while blind or in complete darkness. That's good to know. Target, 1 character, 1 entire character, 1 character X. 1 character is the target. The caster must declare which character is the target when casting a spell, and that target must be visible to the caster. The entire and X indicate how the spell effect is resolved when the target has multiple sections, because they do have multi-part bosses as a core feature of monster design. All right. Target, 1 object. A single object, not a character, is the target of the spell. Uncountable objects, such as liquids or groups of objects, cannot be the target. Uncountable objects. Okay. I understand why they say it that way. The target must be visible to the caster. Any point. A target is any visible point within range. With simplified combat, the caster specifies an area. Target touch. This is a spell that creates or summons something within the caster's immediate proximity. This type of magic can be cast whilst blind or in complete darkness. Okay, so self and touch can be cast without being able to see. Okay. Only if it's listed as target touch, though. If it says target 1 character, that's different. You have to be able to see them. Effects in range. Target X, area YY. The notation X area, YY radius, space, X area, radius, YY all, or X area, radius, YY divided by Z, defines a space that affects a wide area. Generally, the target is a specific area or a particular point, and the effect is applied to a circular sphere shape. Good to know. Centered on that area or point. X can be 1 of 1, 2 to 3, or all. YY denote lengths using meters. Z can be 5, 10, 15, 20. For example, a spell description may designate target area 1, area 3 meter radius divided by 5. Okay. X area. In simplified combat, X determines how many areas will be affected. 1 area, 2 to 3 areas. All areas. Okay. YY radius. YY is the length in meters indicated by the radius of the circle sphere. The spell will take effect. In simplified combat, there's no need to take this into account. It is only used in non-combat situations when necessary to determine the radius of effect. Space. This annotation indicates that the space itself is affected. If a characters are within that space, they will be affected by the spell without exception. This type of magic also often has a long duration. When affecting a character, the criterion is simply whether or not they're within the space each round or not. Okay, so it's like a lingering area of effect is space. All. This annotation means that all characters in the specified range are considered targets. Unlike space, characters will only fall under the effect of the spell if they are within the area at the point of casting. Yes, so space is lingering. Z is the maximum number of targets within the specified range that can be affected. So it's not divided by 5. It's a 3-meter radius up to 5 targets. Okay. Inclusion or exclusion of caster. For spells designated ranged caster, where the target is /all or /z, the caster can choose whether or not to include themselves in the effect of the spell or not. If the caster is a character with multiple sections, they can select which of their sections are a target of the spell, if any. The caster is always included when a spell has the space designation, unless the spell's range is ranged caster. Oof. Okay. Area line. A spell designated area line travels in a straight line from the caster's specified location up to its range limit. Everything in its path has the potential to be affected. Most likely use of such spells is to fire from within the allied rearguard towards the frontline area, and then to inflict further damage in the enemy rearguard. Because of this, there are detailed rules for determining the targets affected by the spell. These explained below. Okay. Determination of target. When casting an area line spell, the caster first assigns a target within the spell's range. There are 2 choices, targeting an area or targeting a character. Targeting a character in a skirmish area requires the combat feat targeting. In this case, characters in the same area as the caster cannot be selected as targets. A character in a different area must be selected as the target. Also, the target must be visible to the caster. To target a character in the enemy rearguard from the caster's own rearguard, they must have the combat feat Hawkeye. Alright, so I'm thinking the answer here is yes, unless you have Hawkeye? Question mark? Or is that specifically just for targeting in a line? I think that's just for targeting in a line. Alright. It doesn't really answer the question. Check the area of effect. Let me see, hold on. All right. Check the area of effect. A spell with area line acts in a straight line from the caster in a specified direction up to its range limit. It can affect everything along the line, either side of the designated target. First, check whether the area you are in is a skirmish area. In a skirmish area, the area inside is also affected by the line effect. Good God. If it is not a skirmish area, it is up to the caster to decide whether or not they will be affected by this effect. Next, check which areas will be affected. If the spell was cast from the front line, then the enemy rearguard will also be affected. If the caster is in an allied rearguard, then range 1 area spells will affect just the front line, whilst range 2 will affect both frontline and enemy rearguard. I got you. Determination of the affected characters. Having determined the areas through which the spell will travel, characters in those areas may or may not be subject to its effects. There are basically a 50-50 chance, with a few exceptions, that a character will be affected. Okay. Specifically, this is determined as follows. The characters chosen as the targets, if the caster has selected 50-50 chance. Oh. That's wild. Okay. What an interesting and abstract way to handle area of effect without a grid. Alright, the character chosen as the target. If the caster has selected a character as the target, that character will be affected. There's no 50-50. Everyone else is collateral damage. Caster can choose whether or not they are affected by their own spell. Exclusion by magic control. If the caster declares the combat feat magic control, any number of characters within range can be excluded from the effects of the spell. Other cases, eligible characters that do not fall into any of the above categories need to roll a D. On a 1 to 3, they are affected. On a 4 to 6, they are not. Okay. Spell sustaining and removal. Some spells have a duration and last for some time. This is determined by the duration field in the spell's description. Spells take effect instantly if they are instant. X seconds, Z rounds, X minutes, Z rounds, X hours, X days, X years. Permanent, the spell just lasts forever. Instant, X seconds, Z rounds, instant, X minutes, Z rounds. This means the spell effect occurs immediately after casting and persists. In all other cases, the spell has a special duration as specified in its description. Duration management. Spells whose duration is controlled in rounds. There are spells listed in the magic data that have a number of rounds appended to the duration in the form Z rounds, such as duration 3 minutes, 18 rounds. When casting combat, the duration is managed in terms of rounds. In this case, at the start of the caster's turn, the GM should consider that 1 round of duration has elapsed, regardless of the order of the caster's turn within their faction each round. Okay. Alright. Oh, okay. So you can't like you can't exploit apparently for magic. So there are spells number of rounds. When casting combat, the duration is managed by rounds, not turns, which they kind of mentioned earlier that it was turns, but now they're saying it is rounds. So in this case, at the start of the caster's turn, the GM should consider that 1 round has eclipsed regardless. Okay. Okay. Conversely, if a caster acts last 1 round and first the next, and the actions there are okay, never mind. It is based on turns and not rounds. So yeah, you could do a popcorn initiative exploit with that. Be the first person to go in round 1, cast the beneficial spell, then the last person to go in round 2 and stretch out the duration. So that's the meta. Conversely, blah, blah, blah. Effects with a duration of more than 1 day. A spell whose duration is 1 day is considered to elapse at daybreak, regardless of the time it was cast. Some spells have a once-a-day limit on casting. Foundry VTT calendar. Cool? Question mark. Cancel with a minor action. Spells whose duration is not permanent or instant can be canceled at any time by a caster using a minor action. Cancellation does not require speech or hand gestures. If the effect was applied to multiple targets with 1 casting of the spell, the caster can cancel it for each target. Oh, that's nice. Spells that cannot be arbitrarily canceled by the caster. The spells with duration permanent and instant XX cannot be canceled by the caster at will. Forced removal. Dispel magic and combat feats such as Word Break force magical effects to be cancelled. This process is not limited to spells, but also applies to items and monsters' unique skills. Compare success values. Generally, when a spell that has a duration is forcibly cancelled, the success value of the spell is compared with the... So you got to store the success value of spells. Store success value of spell casting for dispel and removal checks. That's good to know. Alright. Let's see. Those who are trying to cancel the magic are the active side and the effect is canceled. Okay. The success value of a spell already in effect, which is on the passive side, is the same as success value when it was cast. For this reason, always note the success values of spells with durations. In the case of an automatic success, double sixes on the spellcasting check, the success value determined using the +5 rule. Oh my god. The spell is canceled by exceeding this value or by an automatic success. If the success value of the spell is removed, not remembered by the player, it must be re-rolled. If target is character or object, where there are means of removing magic or effects affecting a creature, a character, such as cure poison spell, multiple effects affecting the target might be removed at the same time. The removing side should roll once and compare the result against all the success values. Okay, that's pretty standard. If target is spell or effect itself, in the case of such spells as spell magic, where the spell or effect itself is the target, only one magic effect can be removed. The removing side must declare in advance which effect they want to remove. If the spell or effect to be removed affects a wide area, the target X area YY is counted as one effect for the entire area. Feels like dispel magic is fucking broken. However, /all/the spells can affect each character individually and may only be removed one character at a time. Resisting spells. Many magic spells can be resisted if the targeted character does not want to be affected by them, and the effect can be negated or reduced. Here are the rules for resisting such spells. Resistance types. Each spell description has resistance field, which determines whether it can be resisted and how it is handled when it is resistant. Can't. The spell can't be resisted. Unless the caster fails the spellcasting check with an automatic failure, the spell will always work. Optional. If the target wants to resist, they will automatically succeed. That's nice. None. The spell cannot target characters. It is applied to an object or a point in space. It cannot be resisted. Unless there's a automatic failure when casting. Negated. If the target wants to resist, a willpower check is needed. Success means the target will not be affected at all. This also applies when characters are not targets, but require some kind of success value comparison to the spell description. Half. Most spells that deal damage fall into this category. If such spells cause damage, it will be halved if the target succeeds in resisting. Okay. So I don't think it has the full, like, degrees of success spectrum that we're used to. From Pathfinder. Willpower checks. If a character is in the target of... If the character is the target of resistance neg, or resistance half spell, a willpower check is needed to have a chance to avoid or reduce unwanted effects. In this case, the character's spellcasting check and the target's willpower success values are compared. If the caster's success value is higher, the spell takes full effect. If there is a tie or the success value of the target is higher, the spell effect might be reduced or completely negated. If a spell targets multiple characters at the same time, willpower checks should be made separately by each target. A resistance check... Hold on. And resistance results are independent for each character. A character should roll one spellcasting check to determine the success value for all targets. That's a big roll. If the spellcaster's spellcasting check is an automatic failure, the spell will fail, and there will be no need for willpower check. Alright. Boy, howdy. Magic's fucking complicated, but then again, the majority of the classes are magic classes, so... Alright. Spell damage. Some spells can deal damage. This section describes the process. Use of power tables. Most damage-dealing spells use a power table to determine the calculated damage. Such spells are described in the magic data as power X plus magic power damage. Just as when determining the damage of a weapon attack, use the appropriate row and power table and roll 2d, check the result. The calculated damage is then added to the character's magic power. Double ones. As with weapon attacks, double ones are rolled, the damage is 0. So you have a chance to fail to hit. Well, you have a chance to critically fail to cast a spell, critically fail to hit with the spell, and then critically fail to damage with the spell. So you have to roll 3 times to finally put some damage on somebody with magic, is what I'm picking up here. Okay. When using the power table, damage spells have the potential to critically hit. The power table is added to the critical data, blah, blah, blah. Additionally, if a spell has resistance half, the target exceeds in a will check, no critical hit can occur. Okay. Double ones after criticals, same as before. Determine damage to multiple targets. If the spell affects more than one target at the same time, the spell casting check is made once for all targets. However, as a rule, determining damage is done individually. Bro, that's slow. Oh my god. This is because due to the possibility of a critical hit and the fact that each of the same kind of monster has a... Alright, I guess if you don't have individual saving throws, I don't know, man. Damage for each one. Weesh. Okay. VTT. Automation for damage checks. Alright. That's fucked up. Alright. This is because possibly blah blah blah. Yeah. Resistance half. Most spells that deal half damage have resistance half. And damage can be halved by successful willpower check. Damage caused by unique skills of monsters can also be halved with a resistance check. When having damage, fractional results should be rounded up. Okay. Alright, that's noteworthy. Round up for damage. No crits on successful resistance. A successful resistance against a spell means you don't get to do crit damage. No halving of increased damage. If damage is halved due to resistance, effects that increase damage are added after the halving. That's interesting. Alright, halving magic damage only affects rolled damage, comma, not bonus damage. That is important. Duplication of magical effects. Alright. This section describes how to handle cases where the same or similar spell is applied to the same target. Non-overlapping spells of the same name. As a general rule, when a magic effect appears on a target, the effects of the spell of the same name do not multiply or accumulate on the same target. For example, even if a target is affected by field protection twice, the damage reduction will not be increased. In such cases, the duration is replaced with the better value. However, if a spell other than resistance is resistance by the target, it is assumed that any later spell has no effect. In addition, if the duration is extended with meta magic time, but as a result the duration would be shortened, this does not occur. Okay. Notes on magic. Spell types. Some spells have a type that may increase or decrease damage and effects depending on the character's, monsters, weaknesses, unique skills, magic or item effects. Earth, water, ice, fire, wind, lightning, electricity, slashing, bludgeoning. No piercing. These are used primarily as types of damage. Poison and disease. Undead and constructs are immune to poison and disease spell types. On the other hand, these spells ignore the effects of some defensive magic. If they have duration, they may be removed with Cure Poison or Cure Disease or similar means. Psychic. These spells affect the psyche of a target. Some monsters do not have a psyche and are immune to them. Such spells could be removed by Sanity or similar magic or effects. Psychic Weak. These spells of the Psychic type can be easily removed. If the target is under the effects and suffers damage to HP and MP, the effect is immediately removed. It is also possible for others to bring them to their senses with a major action. This action is handled as ranged touch and target one entire character. Since they are part of the Psychic type, they can be effectively removed by Sanity spell. They are not effective against monsters immune to Psychic type. Normal Sleep is also classified as a Psychic weak effect. Well, that's good to know. Curse. These spells bestow a curse and can be hard to remove. Even Dispel Magic will not remove them. Only Remove Curse spell can remove curses. Spells that can be cast with a minor action. Some spells casting is normally a major action, but some spells can be cast with a minor action. Such spells have a fast forward button at the beginning of their name. These spells will be cast as many times as the caster wishes on the turn. MP must be expended per cast. As many times as you want, huh? Wow. Cast conditions and movement restrictions. Even a spell that can be cast with minor actions must still adhere to spellcasting restrictions such as having an implement or a medium, being able to vocalize, seeing your target, unless it's like, what, range caster or touch? Let's see. The same is true for movement limitations. Spellcasting check and success value. If a spell is cast with minor action, no spellcasting check is required. The spell will automatically succeed, but the success value will be 0. Since there are no dice rolled, an automatic failure cannot occur. Casting with major action. Spells that can be cast as a minor action can optionally be cast as a major action. In such a case, a spellcasting check should be made. The success value is determined accordingly with the risk of automatic failure with the double ones. Spells that can be cast during combat preparation. Spells with a triangle appended to the name can be cast during combat preparation. These spells are treated almost identically to those that can be cast as minor actions described above. In other words, the conditions for casting magic must be followed. No spellcasting check is performed. The success value is 0. However, spells with the same name can only be cast once during combat preparation. Different spells can be cast separately. Spells can also be cast as a major action, but there are not any cases where this would ever make sense. Notes on wizard-type classes. Magical implement. To use true speech magic or spiritualism magic, a magical implement must be prepared. The same implement can be used for both systems. A character may have more than one implement and choose which one to use. The implement is independent of its owner. Implements can be borrowed from other casters, and there is no modification to numeric values in doing so. The following methods can be used to prepare an implement. Direct in hand. A small staff called a wand or rod can be held in one hand. No weapon or shields can be equipped in that hand. This type of implement must be purchased for 100 gamel. Weapons as implement. Any staff weapon can be used as a magical implement. Weapons of other categories may also be made into implement weapons by adding 100 gamel to their price. Altering a weapon to make it an implement does not affect its performance as a weapon. However, natural weapons such as punch, kick, throw, as well as weapons with a stance, one hand, pound sign, two-hand pound sign, cannot be made into implement. Using a ring. It is possible to prepare a ring as an implement for 100 gamels. The ring must be worn on the right hand or left hand or other as an accessory, but it will take up a ring slot. But it feels like low level play. That's the move, right? Because you want to have the hands free. Ensure freedom of arms. Magical characters. To draw magical characters into the air. Okay. The arm holding the implement or the hand wearing the ring must be able to move freely. A slight disability is acceptable, but true speech magic and spiritualism magic cannot be cast in situations where the GM rules that the arm is clearly immobilized. Armor restriction. When casting true speech magic, spiritualism magic, fairy tamer magic, nature magic, or summoning arts, wearing metal armor imposes a -4 penalty on spellcasting checks. Non-metallic armor having a minimum strength of 10 or more imposes a -2 penalty. And that's the basics of the game. That's, whew. All right. Where are we at? Almost 2 hours just to review 19 pages of basic information. Let's go into the world here. All right. So we're gonna go back to our dashboard, and I think the first thing that we need to do is build a character. So we're gonna create a folder, and we're gonna put pre-con PCs. Right. And we'll do all right. And then inside precon, we're gonna make a player character. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna open the promo materials that were released for the upcoming Kickstarter campaign. No, sorry, Backer Kit campaign. And let's see. What is Sword World? How does stats work? All that kind of stuff. All right. Breakout skills, skill summary. All right. Gerblin. That's a pretty cool looking Gerblin. Yeah, let's make a token out of this guy real quick. Let's see. All right, we're gonna do save as. These will be Sword World tokens, and it's almost May. We'll just call this May. Let's see, Sword World tokens. Yeah, and we'll clear this out. Go. All right, and save it. All right, and the first thing we'll make is this Gerblin. And yeah. Right. Okay. And then for this Gerblin, we want to remove background. Nice. All right. And let's see. That's cool. I like the little club coming over the side there. That's pretty neat. Oh. Gotta fix this little ear though. Let's see. Here. Right. Okay, and then we'll just smudge it. All right, ear fixed. Save out. Sword World. Goblin. Token. Alright. Back to it. Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. Enemy attacks, defense. We've already learned all this shit. Oh, look at that cute bunny. Oh, man. Alright. Go out into the world. Blah, blah, blah. Make a world a safe place. Where are the precons? I want the precons. Precons. Oh, oh. Additional rules, gaining levels, advancement. Is that a house? That's cool. Scarborn Gerblin. Nice. Maybe we'll just build that real quick since we got his stats right there. Monster. Scarborn Goblin. Folder, no folder. All right. So let's see. Is he a demon? He's definitely not. What are my options here? All right, all that's the same. Effects, description. All right. Listen, at least we know what the description is. Where? The formatting. It's terrible. Also, the size of my editing box is not great. Like, why would they only give me this much room, regardless of how big I resize the thing to? It is what it is. All right. Save. There we go. Scarborn Gerblins are shorter than humans with green skin. Blah blah blah. Okay. Monster level 2. How do I change that? What's this? Movement? What was that? Active movement? Alright. Do we need to read the instructions for this? Let's see. Where are the instructions for this? Foundry VTT instructions. Alright. Monster. Alright. Monster data can be entered. Okay. Header section. This is the area where the monster summaries. Okay. The rest of the information is automatically reflected from the input fields in the other tabs. Clicking on loot will output a chat message for the loot role. Oh, yeah? What is that? What's the loot check? No token was selected. Okay. Hey, here it is. Details. Okay. With limited privileges, only the summary is displayed. About monster knowledge check. Only a summary is displayed with limited privileges. If you have limited privileges before or after a successful monster knowledge check, the data will be kept secret. If the player is granted viewer privileges after a successful monster knowledge check, the data will be visible to the player. The image will be displayed as it is to the player with limited privileges. Monster Ability tab. This tab displays the various abilities of the monster. Use this item for fortitude and willpower. It automatically added when the monster is created, but must be manually set. The behavior when clicking on the icon can be set from details. The default section is all, which displays the description, check, power, and effects if applicable, button, and chat. The ability's behavior is automatically displayed before its name. The following types are available. Always, major action, minor action, combat preparation, declaration. By checking 1 to 3 in power table checkboxes in the details, the respective labels names are displayed and corresponding role can be performed by clicking on the item. Use as necessary. If you have set up effects in the ability's details, effects will appear in the list to the ability. By checking the fixed value checkbox under details for each check, the dice result is automatically fixed at 7. And the roll result is displayed as a fixed value. If you have enabled check and power roll, the modified value inbox will also be displayed. Alright, use this item for basic abilities as well. It automatically added when the monster is created. 3 checks will be used. Accuracy, damage, and evasion. Manual input is required. Okay. HP, MP, defense, protective points, and magical defense are entered separately. Resistible abilities should also use this item. I want to see, I have a macro here that allows me to import a monster that somebody else has already made. So let me do that real quick. I want to see if there is a Scarborn Goblin. There's apparently a goblin. The problem with this is like a lot of it's in Japanese, so yeah. So we've got this goblin that somebody else has already made. It have a lot of Japanese on it. And then we got our Scarborn goblin from the translation set. But I just want to see if when we're done, this stuff matches up to their stuff. So far, it is not looking like that, but then again, they have the details filled in and we do not. So, all right, let's see. 3 checks can be used. Blah, blah, blah. Alright. Multi-part monsters cannot be represented by a single token. To be implemented, please prepare separate tokens for the main token and other parts of the body, and operate with multiple tokens. For abilities that affect the whole body, please use the description in the remarks column. About magic. Magic is intended to be registered as a magical ability. Effects tab. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So, over here. Monster level 2. Alright. Max HP 16. Okay, max MP 12. So this is the same monster. They just call it a Scarborn Goblin for some reason. Soul Scar. No, defense. Defense points 2. Magic defense. I ain't seen any magic defense on there. Alright, type. Where do I put in type? Ah, here we go. This is... It says Scarborn. We will call it Barbaros. Oh, they don't give it anything here. Okay. Intelligence. Scroll with eyeballs. Low. Insulting. Alright. Perception. 5 senses plus dark vision. That's the same as before. Disposition is hostile. Alright. Soul Scar 2. Alright. Language. Scarborn and Yuma, just like what they have. Habitat, forest, mountain, cave. Alright, that's the same. Rep and weak. Okay, so 5 and 10. Those are the same. Its weakness is magic damage plus 2 points. I do not think that this is auto-calculated in any way, shape, or form. Initiative is set at 11. Alright, movement is set at... How do they determine that the movement is? Let's see. Movement, 11 / nothing. Alright, it's not any particular part. It doesn't use any summon MP. Okay, so same. Loot. To see if a monster has loot, roll on a loot table. Where's the loot? Oh, it's listed down here. On a 2 to 3, 10 gold crude weapon. On a 4 to 9 crude weapon and a 10 or higher high quality weapon. And apparently this is the format that you write that in. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'll just copy that. 150 GP high quality weapon. Wow. That's cool. Alright. Note for GM. Display name for limited player. Oh, that's cool too. You can kind of disguise what its name is. Alright. What other stats are we missing here? What's up, Brewdog? It was a long week, but it was okay. How was your week? Alright, description, effects, description. They are highly fertile. How come they didn't put that in the American translation? What? Why didn't that make it over? Jeez. All right. So how do I add their stats? The remaining stats here. Let's see. What the fuck am I looking at? Magic points. Fortitude is 3. No, don't roll it. Just fucking change it. Alright, hold on. Fortitude mod? It says 0 out of 7. So I guess it would be a 3, right? Yes, there we go. And 3. Okay. Neat. Alright. Scarborn initiative. Okay, so now we got to make sure that their weapon is built properly. So go to edit, and then we hit this little guy right here from Foundry 5e. Alright, so we do attack. We'll call it weapon attack. Alright, and accuracy, damage, evasion. I don't fucking know. Accuracy is... Won't let me change it. Here. Click everything. Oh my god. This goes fucking deep. Alright. What do we got over here on the Japanese version? Alright. Everything. Nothing special. Check 1. Accuracy. So that must be what those characters mean. Let's see. Bump, 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 bump. Okay. Alright. Alright. Michu means hit accuracy. Alright. So that's Michu. Michu means... Michu. Oh, you gotta really stress the U there, because they got the chi, little u, oo. So... Michu. Michu. Okay. So Michu is accuracy. So when you... when you guys see... when you see the little Naka, like the inside kanji, and then it looks like it says HP wearing a little triangle hat, that means accuracy. Makes sense, checks out. I would assume then that this kanji means damage. Degeki. Degeki is basically damage. Degeki means to strike, blow, impact. Okay. Nice. And then this would be evasion. Alright. Kaihi. Kaihi is evasion or dodge. Alright. Kaihi Handai. No, Hantai is evasion check. Okay. So that checks out, easy enough. Let's see. They recommend using a fixed value for the accuracy and for the evasion, but not for damage. So keep the damage spicy. That's fun. So let's see. They get a base +2 to damage. Because it says damage points 2d2. Right? Their base value for accuracy is listed as a 3, which would kick its static value up to a 10. And then their evade is a 3, which will kick that up to a 10. There we go. And everything else here matches up. It doesn't say what kind of damage they're dealing. It just says weapon attack. Obviously it would be physical damage. So I don't know if that's already considered or if we just math that out ourselves or what. Go to effects. They got nothing there. They got nothing there. All right. Okay. So I guess we're good on that. So what's this move right here? Okay. What does this say? I wonder if this is just weapon. Oh, okay. This is Teiko Hante. Teiko Hante. Teiko Hante is resistance check, resist roll. All right. Do we have that? We do. All right. And our value is 310 and 310. That is correct. All right. And then we just go in there to adjust that. All right. So I imagine within this, one of them is fortitude and one of them is willpower. That checks out. Okay. What is this one then? All right, let's see. All right, Zen Tokoshu Yoku? Zen Tokoshu Yuku. All special abilities. Ah, okay. So all special abilities would just get listed there, of which they have none. It looks like they have no unique skills, so that's why they don't have it over here. So we could just put an entry there and put special abilities. None. All right. Okay. Now I have a question. Can I steal this stuff? Can I bring it over here? I'm gonna do Monster Workshop. Alright, what if I want to bring weapon attack over here? Nice. Alright. So then I'm gonna give him a new move. Let's see. We're gonna call it Desperate Bite. Okay. And for Desperate Bite, we're gonna go in here and make it kind of shitty. So we'll reduce the base to 2. And we'll reduce the damage to not have any bonus. And that'll be that. Alright. So it's less effective than it was before. But then they still have a move to do if they run out. Alright. Nice. Okay. So let's see. Give him some hit points. There we go. All right. And then weak point, magic damage, +2. You have to toggle that on. All right. I wonder why theirs says weak point, magic damage, but it doesn't include the +2. But ours does include it. Is there some other spot where it's being written down? Guess not. Okay. Let's go ahead and add. Go to assets, actors. We'll add a new folder. Call it Sword World. Alright. Oof, gotta spell that right. Sword World. There we go. All right, and then in here we will put I'll just put goblins for now. Right, and then we'll go grab this goblin. All right, prototype token. Give it a little thing at the end. It's hostile. Throw that on there. That's good. Vision enabled, sure. Blood color. Purple. Alright. Okay, let's throw our little goblin out. Goblin! He's in the world. Aw. It's not... Ah! We have to fix all of our hotkeys. Okay. We also need to either add lights to this scene or turn off vision dependency. Let's see. Go here. Walls. Can't really snap to grid because I turned the grid off. That's tough on me. All right. Boy. Okay. Let's go in here and we'll do just a general light. There we go. I for sure went over the line here. Or out of bounds. Alright. So Gerblin. He can see. He's selected. My hotkeys aren't set up. That's fine. Opening up his sheet. He can do stuff. So, going to his abilities. Can I change the order that these are in? Nope. Wait. Yes. Okay. So, cool. Alright, he's going to attack with his weapon. So I would just do an accuracy, damage. Nice. So, is he accessing a table for damage? Or is his damage just always that much because he's a monster? I don't know. Alright. We'll come back to you, Gargoyle and Robot. Let's keep going. Additional rules, magic. I think we've learned enough about magic today. Character data. Ready to roleplay adventurers. Alright. The first adventurer is Human Man McHuman, sir. Alright. Let's see. Interest. Anime, RPG, human, male, hero. There he is. It's like literally just the same guy. Alright. I don't know why do they always have their hand on their head? Like, is your head itchy? Like, what's the situation there, kid? Man. Okay. Let's see. Maybe this guy? I mean, and this guy also has his hand on his head. There's that guy. This dude in the woods. This guy, he's popping his collar hard. Collar, don't stop getting popped just because you're heading out to be an adventurer. Oh, no, he had a dirty chin, and then he put some armor on. What kind of armor is this dude wearing? Hard leather armor. So he's certainly not at a point in his career where he's got kick-ass plate mail on or anything. Okay. Like who holds their sword like that? Have you ever run a poke campaign? I don't know why I was thinking. I've run a couple of Pokemon like adventures and miniseries using like a Roll20 system. I'm gonna be playing in one next Sunday, so not tomorrow, but the Sunday after that. So that'll be pretty fun. All right, we need. I think these guys all look dumb. But I mean, technically they are exactly what we're looking for. It's a brown-haired, low-level anime protagonist. Let's see. Just wish he wasn't touching the top of his head like a goof. Okay, what about that guy? So fresh-faced, just ready to go out and get fucking wrecked. I'm putting way too much time into this. We really got to move on with our lives. Let's see. I want him to be young and fresh-faced, but not so fresh-faced that you're like, oh, this kid ain't coming back. But maybe. That's way too fresh-faced. It's a bit too grizzled. You know what? This will be fine. We'll go with this guy. He's already got a scar on his face. All right, we'll go with this one. There we go. Let's see. Go in here. Go. All right. Got to get that fab hair in frame. Go. Got the fur trim. Go. All right. Remove background. I'm excited about the Pokemon game. I will admit I have not had time to peruse the pro-offered rules that the GM has provided, so that it makes me kind of a bad player. Since it's a homebrew system, I should probably make an effort, but I'm kind of busy with other stuff. Alright, Sword World, PC, Recon, Human Fighter, Male. Alright. So we head over into the world. Now for real, we're going to build our first PC. So PC's Precon. We're going to do Male, Human, Fighter. That's his name. Alright. We're going to put in this. So let's go here. We'll do precons. There we go. And grab that. All right, prototype. Display name, hovered by anyone. Link actor. Put that in. Turn on vision. Update. Get out there. Aha! Oh no! Don't! Why is that a default setting? Atropos, no one wants this! Oh my god. Alright. It's like turn token or something. Token... Animate token vision and lights during movement. Pan token to speaker. We don't want that. Oh, left click to release. Yikes. I have to turn all this shit on. Oh my god. Alright. Foundry VTT. How stop token rotation on move. Global settings, core, automatic token rotation. Alright. Yeah, it makes me so upset. Automatic token rotation. Chat bubbles, scrolling text, left click to release, performance mode, photosensity, automatic token rotation. Christ. Alright. Cool. So, what can we change and what can't we change and how do we change it? These are the things that we need to figure out. What does fucking fellow mean? I don't know. Well, what's this mean? What's this? Is this where I put my hit points? What's this? What's this over here? What's that? Drop items here to be bookmarked. Okay. Let's go to our compendium. And everything's just haphazardly thrown in here because I'm a mess. So we're gonna go to, oh god, that hurts. Okay, we're gonna have to do a couple things here. Edit folder. Yeah, we can't have piss yellow for this. What? I'm not allowed to change it? Oh, you monster. Okay. Alright. Swords Grace, change fate, and trade common. So if I just drag this onto a sheet, does it do anything? It does. He has trade common as a language now. That's something. Alright, Sword Grace. Where did that end up? Features? Swords Grace, change fate. Alright, nice. So we need to open up. He's character level 2. What are his two things? It says language regional Burlight. But he can only read it. I'm sorry, it's not nice. Good for you. I got a new one. This language is... What? Oh my god. Alright. This would be... Regional Burlight. And he can only read it. Okay. He has Power Strike. Okay. Power Strike. Power Strike 1, I'm assuming? Yeah. That's him, baby. You may not update documents in a locked compendium. My brother in Christ. Alright. I will unlock them all. Have I? Nope, there's still more. Is that enough? I'll fucking unlock everything, bro. There we go. Unlock. Warning, you're attempting to unlock for editing a compendium. Oh, okay. I'll cancel that one. Alright. Let's try again. Power strike. Okay, I think we successfully added it. Oh, we did. We added it twice, so I don't know why it gave me a hard time about it the first time. Okay, using medicine. That's just a class competency? Is that not in the compendium? Do I just write that out? Alright, what else we got? Bastard sword. Alright. What else you got? Hard leather armor. Okay. Buckler. Alright. Adventure. Set? Adventurer? Set? Interesting. I think we have to build that ourselves. Okay. So we're going to create an item. Do they have containers? Or bags? Weapon, stunt, spell, other features, item. Oh. Foundry VTT. Can I make containers for Sword World 2.5? Alright. You would need a system agnostic module such as inventory containers. Oh, okay. I will add that to my list. Install system agnostic module for containers. Such as what? Item. Inventory containers. Alright. Brewdog, I just saw that. A campaign where you play as Pokemon that are fed up with trainers would be kind of dope, actually. Alright, let's see. So we don't have the ability to make containers yet, so we'll circle back around to that, and then we'll fill up a container for that. Life grass times 3. Alright. Okay. Bastard sword, life grass. Alright. So that's all we got for this dude, right? And then this is his recommended a level up? Yeah, it can be learned at class level 3. Class competencies. So we'd have to give him classes first. Okay. So he is... Where you listed your class? Fighter 2, Ranger 1. Alright, so Fighter... Okay. And then he's also a Ranger. Alright. Where are your classes listed? Hey, here we go. Alright, so... Fighter 2, Ranger 1. That brings him up to Adventure level 2. Okay. I think that adventurer as your background is sort of like how you get a unified background trait. Oh, yeah, and this is adventurer level. Okay. Nice. Alright, so that's sorted. What about his stats? Alright. His core stats are... Where are your core stats, my brosif? I see that you have a dexterity here, you have check packages, but like, how did we determine your stats? How did we arrive at an 18, a 13, so on and so forth? It sort of just leaves me guessing. Alright, what's this? Rank, race. Alright, we got that. Human. Male. His age is 19. Alright, I don't know what these are. Reputation and rank. Okay. Move. Normal move is 3, but it's not letting me adjust it. So that must mean it's adjusted somewhere else. Born, faith, type, languages. Alright, nope. This is still, we have to figure out this. Battle, adventure. Okay. Cool. Let's see, equipment. Alright. So we just do like this, get rid of these extras. Bastard sword. How come there's not a two-handed bastard sword entry? Bastard sword. Do power. Alright. Hard leather. Got it. Effects. Nothing's currently on. No spells. Feature. Power. Strike. Reset 24. I'm assuming 24 hours. Alright. That also begs the question, is there a calendar? There is not a calendar. Is there a clock in the game? There is not. Alright. So we're going to add to our to-do list, get an in-game clock and calendar. Alright. No clock is kind of rough. Could I turn on like small time? Let me see. Hey, what's up, Silver Noob 1? Yeah, so the precon does not explain like the stats deep down in the nugs of like why this is happening. But core rulebook 1 might. Let's see. Core rulebook 1. Where's our precons? What do you need for this book? Sample character. All right. There he is. He's got a little chart that shows what he's good at and shit. Let's see. This man is a fighter scout ranger. He is far more advanced than our English promo, but I think they have the same exact stats. 18, 13, 17, 14, 13, 10. 18, 13, 17, 18, 12, 7. Now this guy is a little bit better off. That's okay. Alright. Let's go in here. Open up male human fighter. So if I had to guess, we could go off of this. We'll do 7, 10, 4. All right. And then we could just make it match up by adding the appropriate amount. So to get that, we would need to add 11. Not bad. Here you get 13. We'd add 6. For body, we'd add 7. For vitality, we'd add 8. For mind, we'd add 8. And for spirit, we would add 3. Oh, it did it. All right, cool. Growth check, phenomenal. I'm afraid to push the button. All right. Oh, that's neat. Okay, so you can decide which stat to raise. So if I did strength. Oh, neat. Okay. All right. I think that's pretty much it. For setting them up. Got magic points. Right, he's got his movements determined now. Fortitude. Let's see, where is fortitude on this strangely formatted sheet? Fortitude 5. Yep. Willpower 3. Yep. Extra damage. Says 4. Let me go to equipment. Specs, items, features. So, oh, neat. Okay. So it says here, drop items here to be bookmarked. Okay. Ah. Okay. I'm not sure how that helped. How do you get rid of them? To cancel, press X in the lower right corner. Bro, I do not see a lower right corner. We are stuck here. Oh no! Did I drag it out onto the field? Bastard sword. Back up there. Yes. Drop items here to be bookmarked. Seems to be a whittle bugged. Which is unfortunate. Because, there it goes. It was a hidden little X. It had a mouse around until it appeared. Alright. So I'm assuming that while you're playing, at any given time, you can access your status, your battle, and your adventure, which is like Pathfinder exploration, I guess. So if we go here to battle, we got accuracy, power, and evasion, but it's all fucked up until you select your weapon. So we do bastard sword, and then we fight as a fighter, and then we evade as a fighter. Alright, so now when I go to attack, I roll my accuracy. Okay, and then I do my power. Okay. And then if I want to evade an attack. Okay. Alright, it's pretty straightforward. I don't have any damage reduction. So I don't know. Grapplers may equip. Buckler +1. Oh. So evasion mod, critical, lethal, accuracy. So here it says that extra damage is 4. And then over here though, it says K17, which I'm assuming is power table K17. So what does Bastard Sword two-handed use? Alright. So we're going to create a folder. We're going to call it weapons. And we're going to go grab bastard sword. All right. So is there any way on bastard sword to tell it that it's the two-handed version? All right. Usage. Here we go. All right. We have to turn on edit. Two-handed. Okay, so there is no toggle for it. So you'd have to have like two versions of it on your sheet, essentially. All right. So, I guess I should change this back to one-handed. What do you think the one-handed with the little cross means? And then there's a bunch of other weird fucking symbols. I wonder if the little cross is like you could change its thing. Yeah, because they got it marked right there. Let's see. Usage. All right. Unequip. Equip. Sword B. Personalized. Okay. Specs, details. I don't know. I guess we could check the instructions. Where is it? Rules primer. Basic rules. There we go. Weapon. Alright, equipment checks, categories, ranks, types, usages, specializations, minimum strength, hit modifiers, resistance damage, and ranges can be set. These items will be used with both the check and power tables. If you have selected an attack class in the character's combat tab, the selected class and default ability will automatically be chosen. When the class and abilities for check and power are unselected, note that they are not linked. Bonuses due to specialization is automatically updated once the active effects are set. The check only changes the list displays. For items with multiple usages, it would be useful to create a separate item for each usage. Okay, so we do have to make a two-handed bastard sword. All right. So we're gonna go here and do 2H. All right. And then under details, I don't know how much changes. Let's see. Control bastard. All right. Wolf attacks the goblin with his bastard sword. Blah blah blah. All right. Let's keep going. I'm not seeing bastard again. Bastard sword? Wolf's bastard sword. Bastard sword. Okay. It uses the power 27 table? Holy shit. Alright. Yikes. Alright, power table setting. 27. And the crit value is still 10. Am I seeing that right? Yeah. That's a significant jump in power. Okay. That's the only difference then, right? Between the weapon is the damage table? Yeah. Alright. So we bring this over. You can't have both equipped. Eh, why not? Alright. So then power table 27 versus power table 17. Oh no, he fumbled. Okay. Let's see. PD, MB, MD. I don't know what any of that means. What does that mean? PD, FD, HPR. Alright, that's HP reduction. I know that one. Oh. Maybe it's, D is like deduction? Maybe? Then half damage. Okay. I kind of want to roll it until we see a critical in action. Alright, let's see. Like, how do I know I've hit a critical? Bastard Sword. Does he ever crit? Where's his crit? Where's his crit range? Crit value is a 10 or higher. So I just haven't rolled a 10 or higher yet. Okay. Keep going. Ugh. Is it maxing it out? Oh, no, I got it. It's like, the damage reads off the chart. So it is doing that automatically. Whoa, what happened there? Okay, 2 extra rolls. Does it break them down for us so we can see? There they are. Hot damn. 2 crits in a row. So his average damage is somewhere around 6, but on a critical it went up to 20. Alright, so that is calculating automatically and working automatically. Fuck yeah. I didn't want to have to bust out this fucking spreadsheet every single time we needed to check on something. That's really good. Okay. So that's sorted. Let's see. And he can still see that while he switches between his other tabs. Pretty cool. What happens if we use Power Strike? This feat can be declared at the time of any melee attack and is effective for that single attack. If the declared attack hits, its damage is increased by 4 points. As a risk, any evasion checks take a -2 penalty. If characters are hit in the same attack, if multiple characters hit in the same attack, select one character at random from among those hits. The damage to that character will be increased by 4 points. This target selection is made before determining damage. Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I wonder why it doesn't send it. Oh, okay. Am I able to click on it? Nice. All right, and then we got this ability, Sword's Grace. This is a human ability. They can literally flip the dice. So if you rolled like 2 1s, you could use this ability to flip it to 2 6s, which is pretty cool. All right. Overall, I think we're solid. Switch to token image. Switch to actor image. Nice. Okay. So that's sorted. So we've got a monster, and we've got a guy, and then we also have a map for the monster and the guy to be on. But again, we're going to be using the simple combat rules. So if I throw them down in here, they probably... Oh, that's neat. Alright. Very cool. Alright. But if they got into a fight, we would just throw them onto Arena Simple. So it would be like this. There we go. And nobody can see. Alright, cool. We could do something kind of fun with the lighting here. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Let's do that. We will do... Let's grab the lights first. So we'll do basic light for everybody to see. Go. And then within that, do a beam of light. Let's see. Mission angle. All right, and then light color, we'll do like this sort of teal. And update. Something like that. Let's see. Dim light will go all the way out to like 30. Bro. Alright, go out to 10. Alright. So if we do that, and then get over here, this will be blue. Then over here, this would be red. Then over here will be purple. Purple. All right. Kind of neat. I'd almost want to dumb down the attenuation, I think. So let's see what we could do about that. Grab this. All right, advanced options, attenuation. Oh yeah, increase the attenuation. There we go. Lower the. Yeah. All right, so it's a little less extreme now. And then, could we blur the edges of them a bit too? Let's see. Advanced options, attenuation, do low absorption. Ah, that's lame. All right, we'll go to natural light. We could also mess around with walls. So you could do like that. Then if we go in here, we could say that it blocks light and nothing else. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Still wish it was a little bit less up there, you know, like, and just more down here. Let's see. You do no bright light. Go. And then color intensity. Darkness activation range. Ooh, do fog. That could work. Where's fog at? We do fog still? Smoke patch. Nah, they didn't really take. That was a cool idea. I thought maybe it would add like a bit of like, I don't know, something interesting to the map, but we can ditch them for now. All right. Cool. Okay. Could do just gentle lights in each area. Could work too. So like something like this, which would be teal. Then make it, oh, not fairy light, smoke patch. Ooh, yeah, that looks pretty cool. All right, and then we do the same thing back here. We do purple. Yeah, and then here in the center, be red. And then blue. Or in this case, we could just do white. Or like a really light blue. Ooh, that looks cool. Alright. Got the smoke kind of roiling above the battlefield. Yeah. Alright. That's a little bit more dynamic. Okay. So I don't want to do a practice combat until I have a ranged bad guy and a ranged good guy to add to the mix. But we have been doing this for 3 hours, so I'm going to take a break and I will probably come back later to work on this some more. I'm doing a playtest of Sword World tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. With some volunteers. So I have to have something ready by then. But so far, reviewing the rules and checking out what the VTT is capable of, I feel like we have enough to get started. Now I just have to go in there and finish building for tomorrow. So I got to make 4 more precons. I got to throw in a couple more monsters. I've got to put a couple of maps to explore. Again, it's just going to be a 3-hour playtest where we're talking about the rules, we're trying out combat, we're explaining how the stuff works. It's not going to be an actual formal adventure or anything. But then May 3rd, which is a Sunday, I'm actually going to run a for real adventure, and hopefully that turns out okay, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I'll probably be back later today to work on this, or tomorrow morning. Or both, depending on how much I still need to do to work on it. So yeah, hope everybody has a good Saturday. Maybe I'll see you later. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I do prep Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and Saturday mornings. So if you need somebody to do some prep with, have somebody prepping in the background, or just see what I'm working on, you're welcome to it. Otherwise, see you next time.